1800, Joseph Haydn published his oratorio, The Creation. It tells the biblical story of Genesis. God made the world in 6 days and crowned his creation with man. In the 19th century, this popular belief was challenged by a radical secular idea. It was developed here in an English village in the course of a quest for a new understanding of nature. Scientists already knew the world was very old. They believed that animals had evolved from primitive forms. What they did not know was how. Charles Darwin was the first to solve the problem with his theory of evolution. His ideas arose when he was an amateur young scientist on board a round-the-world survey for the Royal Navy. In the Pacific, Darwin explored the Galapagos Islands.
I never dreamed that islands would be so differently tenanted. Temples filled with the varied production of God and nature. These species in the natural economy of the archipelago filled me with wonder.
Here, Darwin began to realize that species changed by adapting to local conditions.
We seem near to answering that mystery of mysteries, the first appearance of new beings on Earth.
But it wasn't just animals that adapted to their environment. At Tierra del Fuego, the very tip of the southern hemisphere, Darwin encountered the people living almost naked in this harsh environment.
Man in his natural state was so beastly, so vile, a foul, naked, snuffling thing.
Here he began to see humans for what they are, well-adapted apes. Darwin returned from his voyage with collections of specimens that gained him respect among professional scientists. Back home, he continued to gather evidence of how life had evolved and analyzed it. But the tranquility of his life in the country masked an emotional turmoil. Darwin had married his cousin. Some of his children were sick, struggling to survive. When one daughter died, Darwin was devastated.
It was impossible for me ever to feel joy again. I was no longer sure of God's existence.
It made him see his own family as casualties of nature. Everywhere he looked, he saw that what drove the evolution of species was the struggle for survival.
Nature is savage, and the struggle must be won by the strongest.
His theory was further developed when he joined his local pigeon club. Here, fanciers selected individual birds and bred from them to enhance their speed, size, or beauty. Darwin saw that nature itself acted as the supreme selector.
These facts have thoroughly convinced me that species have been modified during a long course of descent.
Darwin observed that what was true of pigeons must be true of higher animals.
Man, wonderful man, is not a deity. He possesses some of the same instincts and feelings as animals.
Did man evolve like other animals? Or did intervention by God make him special? For 20 years, Darwin suppressed his theory. Racked with anxiety, he feared disgrace from religious critics and professional rivals. He was finally forced to publish when he learned that another naturalist had come to the same conclusions. On the Origin of Species was published in 1859. It sold out on the first day. The book horrified the religious establishment. Man's sense of goodness and beauty were not God-given, simply characteristics that had evolved. Darwin was lampooned. But some took up Darwin's ideas and applied them to human societies. If aggression was natural, so was war.
The civilized races of man will almost completely replace the savage races throughout the world.
Darwin's theory was hijacked by imperialists to substantiate a political program. The belief that the White West, with its superior machines, was destined to prevail and was justified in marching across the world to conquer. The West's firepower and mobility became unstoppable. Nowhere was the West's domination more clearly seen than in Africa. At the end of the century, Africa became the victim of a wholesale colonial takeover. Here, Europe's industrialized powers played out their own battle for the survival of the fittest.